Michael, if you only had 1 minute to give music artists the best advice you possibly could, what would you say? 1 minute on the clock.
Oh man, I love this question. Yeah, I think the fundamentals of music and building a successful career as an original artist have always been the same. And it's about finding out, well, first, like, you have to create a good product. So like you have to focus on your music and being authentic. I'd recommend, you can create amazing music that doesn't resonate with you. That's really, you can put on a front, but it's way better to do it just by creating music authentically, make it yourself, because then you can attract people that actually resonate with you. And so that's like step number one, to create music that actually resonates with you. It doesn't have to be perfect, just put it out. Two is you have to find out who are the people who are going to resonate most with it. They probably exist. You're like the child of your 5 favorite bands. So like figure out where do those fans hang out and just build an authentic relationship with them. Go meet them, go have a conversation with them, and then invite them to get some sort of gift, unlock access, and just you provide value to them. And 3, you got to offer them something valuable. So explore what do they find valuable and create products and services and things that rock their socks off, that they're like, what? No one else is doing this. And if you do those 3 things, then you have a good shot to do some cool stuff with your music.
Well, there's a lot of things we're going to talk about here, and we're going to be going deeper into those few topics at first. But I thought a great way to introduce kind of who you are and what you do. I mean, everyone probably already knows Michael that's watching this, but in case you don't,
everyone's
every single person.
You don't know who I am.
You're part of a company, own a company called Modern Musician, and you were in a band called Paradise Fears, and there's links down below if anyone's interested throughout this conversation. But let's start off with, what is tour hacking? Yeah,
would love to. I mean, this is a story that I tell often because it really is sort of like the origin story. And honestly, like in my life, if I look at kind of like spots where there's like a big transformation or something like shifted, tour hacking was easily like one of the brightest spots in my whole life. What happened when we booked our first tour locally was we realized quickly the hard way that it's one thing to like book the shows, but then when you actually go and play the shows, you actually have to figure out how to get people to come out, to the shows too. Yeah. And so I remember a lot of those shows, it was just like the bartender in the back of the room, and we were traveling around, and we got to feel cool and tell everyone like we're on tour. But like, it was at the time we were literally sleeping in our van outside of Walmart parking lots. We were eating peanut butter tortillas for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and basically like the definition of starving artists. But I also want to I don't want it to sound like we were just like miserable, because we actually were like, I don't know, we were happy and on an adventure. We were just graduate high school and we were young and just kind of figuring it out. But it definitely wasn't working. We were like, if we want to do this seriously, we have to figure out how do we build an audience. Was when we went out to see one of our favorite bands perform. They're called All Time Low. And for anyone that's not in the pop punk, pop rock scene, I don't know if you're familiar with them, Andrew, or your musical backgrounds, but
yeah, for sure. I mean, I used to go to Warped Tour
nice.
every year when I was in like high school or something. I mean, I used to be a metalhead, so we used to very lovingly refer to All Time Low as All Time Blow. Now, no shade against them, but back then I was kind of I don't know what the term is, but I was very into metal, and anything that was like, I don't know, lame was like,
for us, we grew up listening to All Time Low and a lot of pop punk, pop rock bands, and so they were like one of our idols. We one of the first songs we ever covered was Dear Maria, Count Me In by All Time Low. And so we went out to see one of their shows, and we were standing in line, and we noticed that there was this massive line, waiting outside on the sidewalk to go inside for the show. And this was at the point that we were trying to figure out, like, where are people, and like, how do we find the people that are most likely to come out to our shows? And we sort of had this light bulb moment where, like, if someone likes All Time Low, they're the kind of person that actually is already like going out to see shows, maybe they'd like our music too, and maybe they'd be interested in coming to see one of our shows. And so we thought, what if we just walk up to people and introduce ourselves and share some of our songs? And if they like it, then we can start building a relationship. I was a super shy, awkward kid, so like that didn't come natural to me at all. Our lead singer was like, he was awesome. Like he was like he was super outgoing. He had no issues at all. He was a great front man. Me, I was like the one who kind of to fade into the background, and I was like the tech kind of guy. The first show,
hiding behind the keyboard, right?
Yeah, I was hiding behind the keyboard. In fact, there was one of our first shows you ever played was the Battle of the Bands, And I remember being so terrified going up to perform. I had a panic attack on stage. And after after the show, we were like reading the notes from the judges, and one of them was like, good song choice, like this, like, oh, like great transition. And he's like, the keyboardist looks terrified. And that jokingly became like a parody side project of mine called like Terrified Behind the Keyboard. But what happened was people responded really well to it. Even though our music was not really great quality back then. We had an album called The Secret of Dropping Out, and anyone here can verify it because we took it off of Spotify because it was, it was so much worse than like what are actually like well-produced albums, but our fans ended up finding it and like putting it back on YouTube. So you can prove to yourself how bad we sucked. But even with, this initial music, we found that like people responded really well to it. The most important thing is your connection with fans and with the right people. If we were talking to just random, Joe Schmo like at the mall who is not an all-time low fan, who didn't spend money on a ticket to be there, then there's a high likelihood he'd feel like not really into our music. The same way that, if you're playing a chord and someone else is playing, you're resonating at a different frequency, you could put them together and it's like, it doesn't resonate. And so, but then if you find the right people, it harmonizes and it just clicks. So hopefully that wasn't too long winded. That was like, that was a big one, but
yeah. No, that's the context is super great because I think it tells a lot about your overall strategy, which is not to build a giant audience of fans who are not necessarily fans, but they're just casual listeners. It's more about building an army of people who you actually have a deep connection with. And that gets people really invested in your music if they get to talk to the artist. So I believe it. Let's talk a little bit about some of these sales funnels, automation tactics, like turning a casual fan who has gone through this virtual tour hacking funnel or whatever funnel someone has. Like, how do you get someone from they're on my list to they're a super fan?
Yeah, I love the question. It's such a good question because it's like very like scientific and it's kind of focused on like building systems. And I think that one of the biggest mistakes or challenges that a lot of artists struggle with when it comes to building their community is they're kind of just spraying and praying, or they're hoping something sticks and trying to go viral. And if they do have something go viral, it's like it starts to rain and the rain represents new fans, but they're just kind of like holding out their hands, and so it just goes into the ground. So I think it's really important to have like a rain catcher, or to have something that captures, the rain as it's falling down, and to have a system in the first place.
And you are really killing it with these metaphors.
Yeah, there's like these metaphors that have become ingrained in my brain because every Wednesday when we host our masterclass, this is like one of those core metaphors I do with like the rain catcher and the funnels and. But I think the root of it comes back to exactly what we've been talking about during this conversation, that it truly is about building relationships and connections with those people. And, to start with, you have to make sure it's the right people, right? So like, if you're fishing in a pond where like, even if you have the best bait, if there's no fish in there, then you're not going to like catch any fish. Then from there, I mean, there's a few different variations of things that you've kind of tried throughout the years and evolved. But ultimately, I think the real magic sauce is what we talked about with those personal connections. It's about having a way to connect personally with those fans, and whether that's in the form of like a live stream where it's one to many, often like that's where it leads to eventually, because you just reach a point where you don't have the ability to talk to everyone one-on-one. Even when you reach that point, I think that there is like a scalability limit that you hit where it's like, wow, like I just can't meet people like one-on-one anymore. But at that point, I still think that it's worth having a portion of your days, maybe even if it's just like an hour a day or 2 hours a day, where you break it off and you're like, this is time for me to like connect personally one-on-one with my top fans in the community, or the people who are interested in the most valuable things that I'm creating, the ultimate VIP experiences and tickets. Because that's going to be really time well spent for you. Potentially $1,000 an hour activity if you have like a $2,000 or a $5,000 or a $10,000 offer, and you're meeting with people who said they were interested in that offer, then if 1 in 5 people take you up on it, then that very well could be like $1,000 an hour role for you to take is just connecting with your fans. If you're just getting started building your community, as quickly as possible, find a way to like get on 10 to 20 conversations with them, like actual conversations and like a Zoom meeting, or depending on when you're listening to this, we have a video integration with our new Street Team software. Street Team is sort of like if Patreon and Discord and Facebook groups had a baby, but instead of Mark Zuckerberg owning your baby, you as as the artist own the fan data, and it plugs in with other tools or CRM tools that you might be using, and it allows you to build a community around your music and offer what we call inner circle memberships. And it's a free to use platform. And the core model is we have a 10% commission on the platform, which is really so that we can align our interests with you as the artist. We also love to collaborate with all sorts of partners and other music companies. We basically offer like a split commission model so that we all win together when the artists win. And so one of the parts of the platform that's cool is you can create what we call journeys. And these journeys are sort of like if ClickFunnels and ActiveCampaign had a baby, where you have like advanced workflows, but it's combined with a funnel builder. So you can have reminder sequences that only fire if a fan hasn't taken the next step yet. So rather than sending everyone a generic message or the same thing, you can have hyper-focused follow-ups and connection points with those fans based on exactly which step they're at and where they dropped off. And for example, one of the things you can do and what we recommend doing is when you're just getting started, when people are going through the journey of discovering your music and they're coming into your community, just kind of like going from the top, skimming from the top of the people that go the deepest down to the journey, and sending them a direct message on the platform and sending them a video call. So you can either call them directly on the platform, or if they don't answer, you can leave a video message. So you can just say, hey, just wanted to say welcome to the community. Thank you for joining. And that personal message, I think, means a lot to the fans when they're first coming. It makes an impression.
That is a super unique concept that I think I've only heard from you. Like, that's a unique thing from everyone else in our like whatever space you and I are in on the internet in this music marketing world. You're the only one I've heard like the recommendation of doing like private parties or selling custom songs and doing these kind of like, as you call, VIP experiences for that could be like $1,000 or multi-$1,000 packages.
Yeah, and I think that's like everything, right? There isn't necessarily like a cookie cutter, like one size fits all approach. And if there was, then I don't know, it'd be kind of boring, and I don't know, people would kind of like catch on to it, and it'd be like I don't know, like
it would be ruined in a month because everyone would just do it, and then all the fans would get sick of it, and then it'd be
right, exactly. And so I think that sort of like the real magic, the real sauce, like comes from that thing that actually can't be replicated or replaced, and it's who you are. It's like that's it. Whatever you want to call it, like it's like your soul, it's your creativity, it's your heart, it's you, it's your music. And so I think that's kind of the part. It look like there can be like a container or like a framework kind of around it that helps to like kind of create a structure so people can like connect with it, but also what's in the container is like the most important part. So I say that because like the high ticket offer idea is just a container, it's just like a framework, but like it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is like what you fill it with. And so like if someone's like I am not resonating with a custom song or like private party, then that's cool. Like that just means like that's the inside the container, the part that is not you. And so that being said, there's definitely something in that, like there's something that does resonate with you, and ultimately you should know that it's right, because when you think about it, like something clicks inside of you and you're like, oh shit, like that actually would be really cool, or like it makes you excited. If it's something that doesn't make you excited, then it probably isn't the right thing.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And the premise on a smaller scale of just having higher ticket offers, even from the perspective of doing like a free plus shipping and handling CD funnel. Um, you have a free CD that you're charging shipping for like $8 or something, or $10, whatever it is, and then you usually have an upsell that's maybe $15, or then you maybe have a bump offer on the sales page that's 5, and maybe there's a second upsell for like 50 or something, for example. So it's like $8 to 15 to 50, for example. That one $50 product sale might only be 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20 people. That $15 upsell might be 1 out of 3 people. That $5 bump might be 1 out of 3 people, for example. And those are like real numbers that I'm pulling from. It makes sense. And I think most people could probably find something that works. Going back to Street Team, or I guess Street Teams now, because you got two. The original Street Team is this CRM, sales funnel, website builder, store builder, automation sequence builder, right? It's this all-in-one kind of CRM sales platform. And then you have the new Street Team, which you already kind of gave us a taste of. And I've been playing around, just kind of like seeing how it works, which it's very nice, right? It's the amount of flexibility and options that are built in one place. How do you imagine like these two things coexisting, like this Street Team CRM and the new Street Team beta? Like, is the new one going to replace the old one?
So, I mean, the short answer to that is, the old one for us is going to die, and the new one, and basically, like, we've been in this sort of rebirth process, and now we've built enough of the new one where it's just sort of like the old one's gone.
I wouldn't be surprised if you guys spent thousands of hours customizing and building funnels and building custom setups. And so, anyone saying it's like just high level, like, was it just high level? It's like, yes, but I have my own high level white label account, right, that I market as Fan Funnels, and I spent like weeks building that thing, right, and customizing the back end and building templates, and it's a complicated platform, right? And you can go in with custom code, and I saw what you guys were doing. Like you have this like NFT relic thing. I don't know if that's still a thing now that it's 2025 and not 2022. But as you had this like custom old software that you were like doing this thing where you integrated like pre-saves into the mix with high level, and I don't know. It was cool. It wasn't just high level, but was it built off of high level, which is this crazy sophisticated software? It's like, yes.
Right. And, it almost kind of comes back to that discussion we were having earlier about kind of like the bones are actually not necessarily the most important part. It's like kind of the soul or the heart. That's what you kind of fill it with. And certainly like, I think that the templates that you've created and the systems and the methodology that kind of fill this container, like that's definitely like, that's such a massive, part of the value of the platform. And, and it was true that like, that we were building largely with not like something we didn't own entirely, which had benefits and it had some like challenges, most of which were around like when we wanted to customize something, it meant that we would have to go through a crazy workaround kind of hack together thing to put it on. And I can appreciate it now a little bit better, like having the new Street Team that's 100% proprietary. There are things that we're able to do with it that we just weren't able to do in a simple way, like things that are very simple to do when you have like your own app that you have to like contort and bend around like in crazy ways to maneuver to do it. When it's built on in like a third party. And so, but there's pros and cons. I mean, the pro is that like, high level is amazing and there's so much functionality to it. There's so many things you can build. So it's definitely been like a journey, in, sort of transitioning to that. And there's been certain pieces of it that it's like, we couldn't live without.
You probably saw the news about Russ saying how Spotify should remove all public numbers, right? Like a couple weeks ago. It's like they tell you essentially how many impressions the artist is getting per month, how many at least casual listeners they have, but it says nothing about how many of those people show up to shows, how much merch they buy, or even how many times they listen, right? You can have 1 million monthly listeners with a 2 stream per listener, or you can have 1 million monthly listeners and have 15 streams per listener, right? Those two artists are not the same in terms of how invested their fan base is and how successful their careers are. And so the monthly listener stat and the follower stat, they tell you something, but it's kind of this like the social media number. It's more of a shallow number than like a depth, or so to speak. So I think the depth of something in social media is kind of completely lost.
I think that's a great point, and that's interesting. Yeah, I can understand the argument of like, just like take it off, because there's also a lot of like, ego stuff that comes up when we have those numbers, and a lot of comparisonitis and whatnot. And
yeah,
so I don't know. I think I have to sit with it a little bit more to figure out like is it better just to like remove all the numbers entirely? I think what I lean towards most is actually having metrics or having numbers to measure, because it does like it does matter and it's helpful to know. But I think that right now the existing numbers are broken because of what you just described, that that there's like a tendency to value shallow metrics, but there's no way to like know how deep the connection is. So I think there needs to be a platform where you can actually see the true value of the community as a whole, and that's a function that's both the amount of people multiplied by the depth of connection that you have with them.
Where do you want people to go after hearing this? And what should they check out about you next?
Yeah. So at the time of recording this, it's like a very like magical time where this is like a new platform that we just released like a few weeks ago. So it's very like fresh, very new. And you can bet that with Modern Musician, like we're starting to use Street Team for ourselves, for our own community, and we're building journeys using it. And I'm like, gosh, I wish this existed like 8 years ago. Yeah, because it's so cool. And I mean, probably the best place for people to go to start their quote unquote journey would be with our free masterclass that we host on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. One insight or kind of like aha moment that I had somewhat recently was up until a couple of weeks ago. Here's the journey. So we started with a weekly masterclass where I would just go live and connect and just share what's working best for our artists right now. And then on the masterclass, if people find it valuable, then we'd have an application process where they could apply for a coaching call with our team. If they were a good fit on the free coaching call, we would invite them to join our coaching program. And so that was sort of like our model for a while. Then at one point, we love making things that are working more complicated. and not necessarily, that's not a good thing. For some reason, I don't know about if you've ever had this, Andrew, where you're like, this is working great, so like let's just break it. Let's just stop doing it. So at one point, just because I like to make things more complicated than they need to be, we started using a platform that basically let us like automate our live webinars on Zoom. We had like 3 of them that were happening per day, and it was pretty cool. Like, it was happening through Zoom. I still did the weekly Wednesday masterclass when I could, but I got a little bit
some
like
of those softwares where you can you actually film a webinar with real people, but it captures everything in the software, and it basically replays it in a way where it makes it look like it's still happening live, and it'll put their comment in the midst of the comments that happen in the real live.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could basically run it 24 hours a day, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what you did, but I've seen so many of those tools, and it's brilliant. But
it's a little bit gray area, right? Because it's like for us, we were using one called A Event, and it was cool because it was unique because you could do it on Zoom. And so with Zoom, it's most people, it just feels more rooted, and it's more like more connected. But the thing was, we never had total like it was an area of gray, where I think the way that I sort of justified it was, look, we never outright say that this isn't live. We let people kind of come to their own opinions. I'm still doing it on Wednesdays when I can. And we want people to have access to it if they can't attend the weekly live masterclass on Wednesdays. It was sort of like the way that I sort of rationalized it. But there was always a piece that didn't quite sit right in terms of like full transparency, because the bottom line is like when people attended the Zoom live stream, it very much so feels like it's live, and we never say that it's not live. And so the assumption most people are going to make is that it's live. And so I think there's a little bit of like a trust gap there. And so we made the decision, now that we have the Street Team platform, because part of the reason, like, we want people just to be able to like get started and dig in and like get value from day one, rather than having to like wait for a thing on like Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Like, it was just like too long for people to have to like sit and like wait to get value. And so now we have a part of the journey where immediately you can like dive in, you can start using the platform, you can get the free trainings, and it's free to use as a software. There's 10% commission on revenue generated. So we basically just like want to help you be as successful as possible, as quickly as possible. So now we have that, but I've switched to doing just the live weekly masterclass, and that feels better to me in terms of authenticity. And there is something magic about like connecting with people live and that present moment. And so that's
then
probably
you get to do your thing, right? Have you done this on here yet?
Oh my gosh. Show? Yeah. Who am I?
Yeah.
Usually that like comes out more often, but I get to do the Yak Yam, and it's nice because I can always kind of like share like the most cutting edge, kind of updates and things that we can like refine it. So I think it's a good thing. And so that's a great place to start. So there's a link to start a journey, and on the journey, they'll be able to sign up for the live masterclass that we host on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then there's also an onboarding process where they can get started with Street Team. They can start using it, hopefully creating a lot of value from day one. And that's a good place to get started.
Sweet, man. Well, those links will be down below, so go check it out. And Michael, thanks so much for coming on and sharing everything you know.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me. And you're a great interviewer. It's rare that I get to be on this side of it. Usually I'm like interviewing other people, and so it was cool. And I just want to really quickly share some appreciation, for you, Andrew, and what you're doing as well with your platform. I really view the music industry in a lot of ways, like until what you're doing right now with like YouTube and with the internet was a much more like guarded, gated kind of. There's a lot of things are just broken, and so I think that both of us together and the communities that we're a part of sort of have this opportunity to change the music industry. And so I'm grateful that people like you exist, that you're sharing the tools that you're learning with artists. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of your podcast. And we talked about this before, that it's funny that it took us this long to like connect and to do podcasts. Speaking of which, we interviewed Andrew on our podcast recently as well. Yeah. So great place to connect there as well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.